Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go my review of Monday Night Raw. Starting off the night, we have Rollins attacking Bronson Reed backstage. Rollins comes out to the ring, as well as Bronson Reed. Security is trying to stop Reed, but Reed ends up attacking Seth Rollins. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of Monday Night Raw. It is a tag team matchup for in the tag team tournament. It is the New Day versus the Authors of Pain. I thought it was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between the New Day and Authors of Pain, with the New Day keeping the pace of the match. The Miz is ringside. Rezar hits a fallaway slam in the middle of the ring. R-Truth comes out, attacks Miz and Karrion Kross, which allowed Kofi to hit a roll-up, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are the New Day. After the match, the Final Testament attack R-Truth. Lights go out. The Wyatt Six appear. Wyatt Six attack the Final Testament, and Uncle Howdy comes out to the ring and attacks Paul Ellering. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's a tag team matchup. It is Raquel Rodriguez teaming up with Liv Morgan versus Damage Control. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Raquel and Liv keeping the pace of the match. Lash Legend was sitting ringside. She attacks Io. Match ends in a disqualification. Rhea comes out to the ring. She attacks Raquel, Liv, and Dominic Mysterio. Moving on from that, we go to our next match of the night. It's a tag team matchup, again in the tag team tournament. It is Dragon Lee teaming up with Rey Mysterio versus the American Maid. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Lee and Mysterio keeping the pace of the match. Rey hits a 619, but Lee hits the finish, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. Hats off to Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into the main event of Monday Night Raw. It is Jey Uso defending the Intercontinental title against Braun Breaker. Number one, I thought it was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Jey and Braun, with Jey keeping the pace of the match. Braun hits a standing moonsault on Jey for a near fall. Braun then hits a top rope Frankensteiner for a near fall as well. Solo is here. Solo then says he's here to help Jey. Tonga Loa is here as well, but Jey hits a super kick on Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga. Braun then goes for a spear on Jey, but misses and hits Solo Sikoa. Jey got Fatu is here. Braun and Fatu get face-to-face. The crowd erupts. Jey then hits a spear on Braun, as well as an Uso splash for a near fall. Adam Pearce comes out to the ring. Pearce kicks out Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Fatu then hits Jey with a super kick, which allowed Braun Breaker to hit a spear on Jey, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new Intercontinental Champion is Braun Breaker. Hats off to Braun Breaker for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to Monday Night Raw before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, was it a good show? Yes. It was an absolutely good show. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the greatest Raw I've ever seen, but it damn sure did not disappoint last night. With that being said, there was a couple of things to really dissect with this show. The main thing being Jey Uso. You know, you've seen Jey Uso. There's been a lot of heat, if you will, around Jey, especially when it pertains to Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso with this bloodline situation with Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. Last week, we saw Jimmy try to have Jey come over to talk to Roman and join the bloodline, and Jey wasn't having it. And then Jey shows up last Friday night on SmackDown. He confronts Solo Sikoa and the bloodline, and looks like they had a difference between Solo and Jey as well. Now, you know, here we are on Monday Night Raw, and, you know, Jey has a high-profile matchup for the Intercontinental title. He loses that belt due to the interference by the Bloodline, which caused Jey to lose the title to Braun Breaker once again. Now, I mentioned this for the past couple weeks, that, you know, obviously it does seem like WWE is heading towards a War Games scenario at Survivor Series between the new Bloodline and the original Bloodline, and there's starting to be these small pieces and ingredients that are starting to slowly, you know, add themselves into this whole situation. You know, for example, they just brought back Jimmy. Jimmy's now aligned himself back up with Roman Reigns. Jimmy's trying to bring in his brother Jey to help them out against the new Bloodline. So, you know, like I said, you know, for the past couple of weeks, they're slowly starting to add these small ingredients to the storyline, which I think is, if not the best storyline ever in WWE, or one of the best storylines in WWE, hands down, and one of the best storylines in all professional wrestling right now. With that being said, man, you know, to me, War Games Survivor Series is going to be very telling. It's going to be also very telling to see what transponders over the next few weeks. Are we going to hear from Jay again on SmackDown? Is Jay going to align himself up with Roman and Jimmy to take down Solo Sikoa and Solo's new bloodline? Especially after what Jacob Fatu did to Jay, which ultimately caused Jay to lose the Intercontinental title. So obviously there's some heat there between Jey Uso and Jacob Fatu. The other interesting situation is, again, who else is going to align themselves up with Roman? Could it be Jay? Could it also be Sami Zayn? Like I told you guys a couple weeks ago and even last week, Sami Zayn has allegiance to Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns' bloodline. He was an honorary Uso, and he was a part of Roman Reigns' bloodline before Roman was dethroned by Cody Rhodes, and the rest was history. But with that being said, I mean, there's a really good chance that Sami Zayn could also show up here relatively soon and also join Jey Uso. You also have to remember, at one point, before Jay had won the Intercontinental title, there was speculation that Jey Uso was going to team up with Sami Zayn to take on, pretty much go after the tag team championships. So, and unfortunately, that never happened. And Jay, after, obviously he went after the Intercontinental title when Sami Zayn, was pretty much tied up with Gunther in the World Heavyweight Championship. So, now that Jay had lost the belt, Sami Zayn seems like he's not doing anything right now. It seems like the stars are aligned right now for Sami Zayn and Jey Uso to reunite once again with Jimmy and Roman to take on Solo Sikoa's new bloodline. But there's other factors that factor into that. The biggest wild card is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And I mentioned this now for the past couple of weeks, ever since Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has returned to WWE when he returned at Bad Blood. The biggest question with The Rock is where does his allegiance lie? Is he going to realign himself up with Roman, or is he going to join Solo Sikoa? And it could be something where maybe The Rock is pissed off with Roman due to the fact that Roman had teamed up with Cody, and maybe there's a little hostility there between Cody and The Rock. Maybe there's some unfinished business there between Cody Rhodes and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which maybe caused the reason why maybe The Rock's pissed off at Roman and wants to align himself up with Solo Sikoa. The other interesting thing that I would factor into this too is Solo Sikoa. Watching Jacob Fatu last night, and you can see that he was getting kind of frustrated, and he kind of took matters into his own hands last night by hitting that super kick on Jay, which ultimately caused Jay to lose the Intercontinental title. So this also could be something where maybe, just maybe, and it's just my opinion, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but maybe Jacob Fatu becomes the new tribal chief and they kick out Solo Sikoa. And maybe it's Jacob Fatu that becomes the new tribal chief. There's a lot of angles they can do here with this entire storyline, and that's what I've been trying to tell you guys for the past couple weeks, is that WWE has done a hell of a job by adding small ingredients to the storyline, and it keeps building and building and building, man. It's like a fine wine. It just gets better over time. And like I said, this Bloodline storyline as a whole has been going on for like 2 or 3 years, and it's progressively gotten better. It's progressively gotten even more intriguing as time goes on. And I really do wish that Tony Khan and AEW took a page out of this book with this storyline with the Bloodline and kind of evolved it into what they were doing over in AEW. But with that being said, Raw did not, they didn't miss last night. They really didn't. I think, a couple weeks ago, Raw was not that great. Past 2 weeks, Raw has definitely been really interesting, with the vocal point being the Bloodline and especially Jey Uso when it pertains to Monday Night Raw. You saw, like I said, you saw Jey Uso on Friday Night SmackDown, being confronted by Jimmy and Roman Reigns in the parking lot. Roman telling Jey that he acknowledges him, he respects him, and they appreciate what he's done. But Jay wasn't having it. Now, the table might have turned after what Jacob Fatu did to him in that match last night up against Braun Breaker. Looks like Jay's definitely going to want some revenge against Jacob Fatu, and the only way that he can get that revenge is aligning himself up with Roman and Jimmy to take on the new Bloodline. So if I had to be a betting man, I would have to probably say that it's going to be Jimmy, Jay, Roman, and Sammy versus Solo, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa. But like I said, the biggest wild card into all of this is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Is he going to be a part of this War Games matchup in any kind of capacity? Is he going to wrestle in a War Games matchup? I have no idea. That's the biggest wild card from this, and we have not heard anything from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or even seen Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson since the Bad Blood event that happened in Atlanta. So there's still a lot of questions that still need answers to, and a lot of questions that the fans have, myself included. But I can't sit here and say that Raw was a bad show. It definitely was not. Obviously they're building up towards Crown Jewel. You got champion versus champion. You got, Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. at Crown Jewel next weekend or 2 weeks from now. You also have Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax. Those two matches are going to be really, really interesting matchups, to be honest with you. Cody Rhodes and Gunther is going to be absolutely insane and almost a dream match. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. But like I said, man, it's one of those things where I can't really critique Raw in a bad way, to be 100% honest with you. The other thing I want to talk about too quickly, man, it came out yesterday. It was a big, big time news deal that came out yesterday right before Raw, kicked off last night. Samantha Irvin. I wanted to talk about Samantha Irvin. She's the former WWE ring announcer. She has left the company as of yesterday. Now, this shocked everybody, myself included, and a lot of people that I talked to were shocked because, a lot of people were praising Samantha Irvin. A lot of people were even saying that Samantha Irvin had a lot of similarities to, Howard Finkel. You know what I mean? So, she has the presence of Samantha Irvin and what she did in WWE with the ring announcements to, all the stuff that she's done for WWE in the past, 3-4 years has been phenomenal. And it kind of just happened abruptly with her just leaving. This wasn't something where her contract just, ran out. She just said she was done with WWE. And a lot of people instantly were automatically saying, oh, she's going over to AEW because Ricochet's there. That's, But I don't know if that's going to happen or not. From what I understand, it looks like Samantha Irvin's going to be kind of focusing on a singing career. And she wants to focus on music and stuff like that, which, the girl has a great voice, man. If that's what she wants to do, then God bless. But would I be also surprised if Tony Khan and AEW don't offer her a contract? No, I wouldn't be surprised with that. There's other things to factor in as far as if Samantha Irvin were to go over to AEW. And two big things. Obviously, one, Ricochet. Obviously her and Ricochet are in a relationship, and maybe with him being over to AEW and her working with WWE, it was really hard for them to see each other. Maybe she will go over to AEW to spend more time with Ricochet, have a lesser work schedule, so on and so forth. So that also could be a very high possibility that it could happen. The other thing that would also intrigue, I think, AEW bringing in Samantha Irvin is there's been a lot of speculation. There's really no more speculation as of late, but there was speculation that Tony Khan and AEW were thinking about bringing in a new show, which was Shockwave. And there has been speculations and talks that AEW are in talks or were in talks with possibly putting on a new show on the Fox network, whether it was Fox or FS1. And a lot of the attention from that was because of AEW and Tony Khan following the trademark of Shockwave, and Shockwave would be a new show for AEW that would either air on either Tuesday or Thursday nights. So this could be also something that Tony Khan really wants to do by bringing in Samantha Irvin, have her be the ring announcer, and have her debut on Shockwave. Could also be a big deal. But to be honest with you, from what I found out, and what I've gathered is it looks like she wants to focus on a music career, and God bless, man. To be honest with you, she will definitely be missed. I thought she did a fantastic job ring announcing for WWE. I thought she did a fantastic job. Now, the flip side of that coin, now that, Samantha Irvin is no longer working with WWE, specifically Monday Night Raw, it looks like WWE has brought back none other than Lillian Garcia to take over the role of what Samantha Irvin was doing in WWE for the past 4 years. Now, if you guys don't know who Lillian Garcia is, she was the original ring announcer for WWE years ago. So it looks like they brought her back, and from what I understand, it looks like she's going to be there for a more permanent role with WWE, specifically Monday Night Raw, to do ring announcing once again, which is a big deal. Lillian Garcia is a legend. She was there during the Attitude Era. She's been around the company for a very, very long time, so to see her come back in that same position, and from what I've gathered, it looks like it's a more permanent position for Lillian Garcia. Sky's the limit. Absolutely. I'm not against it whatsoever. But again, man, WWE, Raw and SmackDown have been firing on all cylinders, man. And I've said this for a while now. If you guys look at the PLEs, if you look at, just the booking of these shows, the storytelling of these shows, especially, like I said, with the Bloodline storyline, that storyline is not just going off of SmackDown, it's also bleeding into Monday Night Raw, especially when it pertains to Jey Uso. So, you have Jey showing up on SmackDown. Now we have the Bloodline showing up on Monday Night Raw, attacking Jey Uso. So, again, man, I can't stress this enough. This is one of the best storylines going right now in all of professional wrestling when it pertains to the Bloodline. Man, this story is absolutely great. And they're going to be adding more pieces to this. You know, obviously I mentioned, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that Hikuleo, which is the brother of, I believe, Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. I believe he just recently signed a deal with NXT. So again, you know, they're adding more pieces. I know a lot of people are also mentioning Zilla Vatu, and I think he's, you know, wrestling under Booker T's promotion. So, I mean, and I know Booker T's really trying to do whatever he can to bring in Zilla Vatu into the WWE. And again, that could be another added piece to the Bloodline due to the fact that Zilla Vatu is a part of that Bloodline. So, I mean, they're constantly going to be adding ingredients onto this and intensifying over time. And to be honest with you, I don't see this Bloodline storyline ending anytime soon. I just don't. They can really drag this storyline out for, I would say, either another year to 2 years, to be honest with you. You know, for prime example, WrestleMania coming up, Las Vegas. We could possibly see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson versus Cody Rhodes. You know, obviously there was a little, you know, hostility there last year leading up to WrestleMania where you had that tag team matchup with Cody teaming up with Seth, taking on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Roman Reigns. So there's still a little heat there between The Rock and Cody Rhodes. You know, like I said, WrestleMania is going to be in Vegas this year coming up. What better way to kick it off than having Cody Rhodes versus Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson either night 1 or night 2? You know, there's still a lot of things up in the air, man. Especially with War Games. I don't know how this is going to play out. And like I said, the biggest wild card I would have to say. So like I said, man, at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where like you had to look at the entire picture here. And I think with the Bloodline, it just means a lot to WWE, obviously. And they're putting everything they can into this storyline to get people invested. And I don't think there's a single wrestling fan that's not invested into this Bloodline storyline, man. I think it's just great. I think what WWE has been doing and adding these small pieces to the storyline is just making everything better, man. And it's just it's gelling really well. Absolutely. And now, like I said, with Jay dropping that belt last night, due to the hands of Jacob Fatu and the Bloodline, obviously Jay's going to want some revenge. And the only way that he'll get that revenge, unfortunately for Jay, he might not want to do it, but the only way that he'd be able to do that is if he realigns himself up with Roman and Jimmy to take on this Bloodline once and for all. And that's the best way that they can do this. And like I said, I can see Sami Zayn coming over because obviously he has ties to Jey Uso and Roman Reigns being an honorary Uso. But, you know, like I said, the biggest wild card I would have to say is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and how he's going to fit into this entire storyline right now with the Bloodline. But with that being said, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.